businesses with support and services to help them grow and bloom. The Time by Sagicor Bank is 7 o'clock.
CVM News at 7, headlines Thursday. Brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy.
Tonight in CVM News at 7, cold-blooded killing. Police kill suspect after deadly dispute over ice. Context matters. Brownberg acknowledges Make's movement was wrong, but bittersweet deals. Authorities flag growing sugar black market. Inquiry this missing money mystery. Who is liable when your cash disappears from the bank? And later in sports, all eyes on Botswana and Team Jamaica limber up for the World Athletics Relays this Saturday. We'll bring you latest in tonight's Sportscast.
CVM News at 7, headlines Thursday. Brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy.
Should critical illness strike, don't let worry fill your head. Say hello to happiness and goodbye to worry with Guardian Life's new Ultimate Provider Plan. Secure your medical expenses in the event of critical illness ahead of time while benefiting from our investment portfolio and so much more. Give yourself and your family the peace of mind you deserve with Guardian Life's new Ultimate Provider Plan today. And live secure, live easy.
Finally said yes to onion rings. Now it's your turn to say yes to the onion ring zinger from KFC. KFC, it's finger licking good.
There's nothing like a Jamaican greeting.
Yeah, look.
Blessings.
Yo, man them.
Father Mold Wagwan! Celebrating 25 years of connection. Every call, every click, every message, and every shared moment. Digicel, powered by you.
From Kingston, Jamaica, this is CVM News at 7. It's Thursday, April 30, 2026. I'm Nika Lewis. Thank you so much for joining us. Up first this evening, a disagreement over ice led to the fatal stabbing of a woman on Love Lane in downtown Kingston Wednesday. Her attacker has since been killed by the police. Video footage widely shared online shows how the chilling attack unfolded. Kevin Black reports.
The moment Catherine Wallace was stabbed to death on Wednesday in Fletcher's Land, Kingston. The incident happened on Lovers Lane. The 50-year-old woman, otherwise called Kathy, of a Fleet Street address, was fatally stabbed during an altercation allegedly over ice. Commanding Officer of the Kingston Central Police Division, Superintendent Mishka Forbes, says Miss Wallace and a man identified as the Vardakers, otherwise called Davy, were drinking at a location on Love Lane when an argument escalated. A video of the incident shows Dacres pulling a ratchet knife from his back pocket and using it to inflict multiple stab wounds to Wallace's upper body.
It is reported that Wallace and a man identified as Davar Dacres, otherwise called Davy, of a King Street address, were involved in a dispute at Love Lane when the dispute escalated into a physical altercation, during which Dacres used a ratchet knife to inflict multiple stab wounds to Wallace's upper body. She was assisted to the hospital where she succumbed to her injuries. This incident marks the third murder recorded in the Kingston Central Division since the start of the year.
Hours after the incident, lawmen intercepted Dacres along Hanover Street. During the encounter, Dacres allegedly attacked officers with the same knife and failed to obey commands to drop the weapon.
About 11:25 p.m., officers intercepted the suspect, Dacres, along Hanover Street. During this encounter, he attacked the officers with the same weapon and failed to comply with their instructions to drop the knife. The officers discharged their service weapon in the direction of the now deceased, and he was shot and injured, taken to the hospital where he succumbed. I must say that we are concerned about the shift in violence patterns.
Superintendent Forbes is concerned about an increase in violence arising from domestic and interpersonal conflicts. In response,
the division has intensified Operation Blade, a zero-tolerance initiative targeting the possession and use of offensive weapons. We will continue this operation alongside our community engagement efforts in partnership with key stakeholders aimed at promoting conflict resolution and discouraging violence.
Kevin Black reporting for CVM News.
Context matters is part of the explanation preferred by Dr. Angela Brown-Burke as she breaks her silence on the latest Mace violation to bring a Jamaican Parliament session into disrepute. More on that development from Curlin Brown.
Dr. Angela Brown-Burke, no stranger to controversy, boasting decades of experience as a politician, a councillor and a mayor before being duly elected as parliamentarian, while also serving at the party level as vice president. The MP sat on oversight committees to include the Integrity Commission, Joint Select Committee, Domestic Violence Act, Standing Finance, and Caucus of Women Parliamentarians. She appeared remorseful upon reflection 2 days after her action in Parliament, and an incensed Speaker of the House, Juliet Holness, had her booted before the session ended, and as a result descended into disarray.
My actions on Tuesday did not accord with acceptable parliamentary procedure. I also acknowledge under the circumstances that the decision of the House is in keeping with the standing orders.
However, this bone of contention is far from settled, as Brown-Burke is explicit about the significance of the whole story that unfolded, even when the frames of rules come into play.
It arose in the context of a heated discussion that we were having around a critical piece of legislation and our attempts to be heard under the circumstances. And I think context matters while we uphold the rules of the House. At the same time, I would not want that to distract unduly from the important points that we were making about the lack of transparency and accountability, the kind of unfettered powers that we saw with NARA.
NARA, the now official National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority Bill 2026, although passed, will also be remembered for the intense verbal spat which spiraled from a debate between lawmakers running day into night. And Brown-Burke's rebuke for laying hands on the mace may just be another whirlwind speeding up discussions over Jamaica's tradition and authority of the House.
Trillions of dollars we're talking about. That is a debt to be borne by us and our children and grandchildren. And we want to make sure that we are doing it right and that we are putting in the safeguards that are required.
Curlin Brown, CVM News.
In the meantime, Chairman of the Jamaica Labour Party's Communication Task Force, Senator Abka Fitzhenley, says Dr. Brownberg's acceptance of wrongdoing without an apology is incomplete.
Acceptance that she blundered is not good enough in the absence of an apology for bringing the Parliament into disrepute and delaying debate on an important bill which is intended to bring assistance quickly to the people of Jamaica who have been badly impacted by Hurricane Melissa. Brownberg should apologize to the Speaker and the Parliament. And I tell you what, members of the PNP, including their leader, who stood when the Marshal was directed to do his duties, they have some accounting to do as well.
Senator Fitzhenley says the PNP has not taken a serious approach to deliberating on issues which face the people of Jamaica.
I suspect that Mrs. Brownberg was compelled into accepting that she was wrong by the continued public backlash that she's facing. But her behavior on Tuesday is indicative of a continuation of misconduct and an unserious approach by the PNP and its members to treating with the business of the people of Jamaica. They really should do better.
Meanwhile, in a significant ruling with far-reaching implications, the Supreme Court has struck down an environmental permit granted for a proposed mining and quarrying project in Bengal, St. Anne. The full court found that the decision to approve the permit was likely to breach the constitutional right of residents to enjoy a healthy and productive environment. The case was brought by several residents and stakeholders who argued that the project would cause irreversible environmental damage, including harm to forests, water systems, and biodiversity. The Natural Resources Conservation Authority had initially refused the permit, citing environmental risks and strong objections from the Forestry Department. However, that decision was later overturned by the minister, who approved the project with 76 conditions attached. Despite these conditions, the court ruled that the potential environmental harm remained significant and not sufficiently justified in a free and democratic society. The judges emphasized that constitutional protections extend not only to actual harm, but also to likely threats, allowing the court to intervene before irreversible damage occurs. Importantly, the ruling highlights that development must align with sustainable practices, balancing economic growth with environmental preservation. As a result, the environmental permit has been nullified and the project cannot proceed under its current approval. This decision is being viewed as a landmark moment in Jamaican constitutional and environmental law, setting a precedent for future development projects and how they will be assessed. Attorney-at-law Debian Samuels has been charged with fraudulent conversion following a multi-million-dollar property fraud probe. Detectives say Samuels allegedly failed to hand over more than 8 million Jamaican dollars from a 2024 real estate transaction in St. Anne after the funds were paid into her account. After unsuccessful attempts to contact her, she was named a person of interest on April 22 and later arrested in St. James following a brief standoff with police. Samuels was formally charged on Wednesday and is scheduled to appear before the Kingston and St. Andrew Parish Court on May 1. We take a break. More news in just a moment.
This is Flow, Jamaica's fastest mobile network, as verified by Ookla. It's the result of a complete network rebuild, with more power backup to reduce outages and satellite backup for greater mobile stability. You can even make regular calls using Wi-Fi. Welcome to our new era of connectivity, and we're not stopping there. This is Flow, Jamaica's network.
finally said yes to onion rings. Now it's your turn to say yes to the onion ring zinger from KFC. KFC, it's finger licking good.
The internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winford Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
So much more than
Thanks so much for staying with us. A fiery exchange in court between the defense and the Crown over the conduct of defense attorney Paul Gentles amid submissions that he was misrepresenting the evidence was Thursday's highlight in the ongoing Clansman gang trial. Carla Ramdeen was in court and now reports.
A dispute arose during the testimony of a prosecution witness, a deputy superintendent, who was being questioned about his role in the investigation into a double murder of 2 men and the wounding with intent of another on August 4, 2017. The officer told the court that after receiving a report of a shooting, he went with his team to Dunbeholden Main Road. There he observed a motor car in the middle of the roadway with open doors, what appeared to be blood inside, and spent casings in the vicinity. He said an investigating officer was assigned to lead the probe into the double murder and wounding with intent of another individual. During cross-examination, attorney Paul Gentles, who represents the accused Michael Wildman, asked whether any instructions were given to have items processed for fingerprints. The witness said no. Attorney Gentles then asked the witness about evidence he gave earlier, in which the attorney suggested the witness testified about observing bullet fragments and warheads at the scene. The prosecution immediately objected, although the defense withdrew the question. The Crown pressed the issue, arguing that Gentles was misquoting the evidence. The Crown told the court that the witness had made no mention of warheads or bullet fragments and urged the defense to remain faithful to the evidence. The defense later stated that the witness collected spent casings, but an objection was raised before Gentles could finish his question. The defense counsel apologized and withdrew the question, but the prosecution insisted on placing its objection on record. The prosecution further stated that the incident exemplified the defense attorney's discourteous conduct, which Mr. Gentles interjected, "Get on with it." The prosecution continued, stating that Mr. Gentles was deliberately and continuously misquoting the evidence. Paul Gentles told the court that he acknowledged issues with how the question was posed, and that's why it was withdrawn. He said if the prosecution is objecting to something, it must be on the point of law and not in respect to his perceived misconduct. The defense further questioned the witness, asking if he had received a statement from the investigating officer. The witness responded that such a statement ought to be placed on file, but admitted he could not say with certainty whether that had been done. Gentles then asked the judge to have the prosecution indicate whether a statement from the investigating officer exists. The Crown subsequently informed the court that a statement would be disclosed. Tesha Miller, Rolanda Jermaine Hall, and Michael Wildman are the men charged in connection to facilitating the double murder and wounding with intent, which are listed on counts 3, 4, and 6 of the indictment. Carla Ramdeen, CVM News.
A police operation in Sandy Bay, Clarendon has left 1 man dead after an alleged armed confrontation with the officers on Wednesday afternoon. Dead is Corey McCullough, otherwise called Hot Tool, who police say was previously known to them and facing serious criminal charges. Reports are that about 4:55 p.m., a team of officers was carrying out operational duties in the area when they were confronted by the man who allegedly brandished a firearm. The police say they were forced to take protective action, during which the man was shot and injured. A pistol fitted with a magazine containing 8 rounds of ammunition was recovered at the scene. McCullough was taken to the Maypen Hospital, where he was later pronounced dead. Authorities also revealed that he had been charged in 2 separate murder cases and was before the Home Circuit Court and the Maypen Parish Court, reporting under bail conditions at the time. The incident has been reported to Indicom. There's a multi-billion-dollar illicit sugar trade gaining traction on the island, raising serious concerns for regulators. Authorities say investigations have been intensified to dismantle the widespread illegal importation of the product, following the arrest of 2 businessmen in St. Elizabeth who were caught selling unlawfully imported sugar from Guyana. Details from Amoy Harriet.
This is the brown sugar investigators say was illegally brought into the island from Guyana and was being sold at a Chinese wholesale in St. Elizabeth. 2 businessmen have since been charged under the Sugar Industry Authority Act. But this isn't an isolated case. Illegal sugar importation has been a long-standing issue, feeding into a shadow market that authorities say undercuts legitimate suppliers. And it's not just a local concern. Illicit trade in goods globally is valued at hundreds of billions to trillions of US dollars annually, and agricultural products like sugar are part of that flow. In some markets, sugar smuggling alone has been valued in the hundreds of millions annually, driven by price gaps, taxes, and import controls. For leaders in the local industry, this is troubling.
Illicit sugar importation is a huge problem for the industry. It has been so for years, and we have, been trying to get a handle on it, right? We estimate that this illegal industry or illegal activity is worth billions of dollars. You cannot import brown sugar any at all into the island unless you have a permit for the SIA. We have issued no such permit. So if the sugar is not from Jamaica, it means that it is here illegally.
Rupert Steele is CEO of the Sugar Industry Authority, SIA. He says the SIA and the police have intensified investigations into the growing business.
Based on the fact that we know that the demand for brown sugar in the domestic market, based on the last study that was done by the Consumer Affairs Commission for us, is upwards of 60,000 tons per annum. We have not made any our production has not been anywhere near that for a while now, and even with our production as it is, we're still having difficulty getting all the sugar sold on the market. So we know that the demand is being satisfied elsewhere.
Now, the probe follows a commitment by the National Compliance and Regulatory Authority, NCRA, to intensify monitoring of sugar quality to protect public health following the confirmation of metal fragments in samples of brown sugar produced by Pan-Caribbean Sugar Company Limited last week. The authority says it's extending its inspection to all sugar brands. CEO of NCRA, Tracy and Elliott, was a guest on CVM's Lead Story on Wednesday.
This time, consumers have no need to be concerned. We wanted to do all our due diligence. We wanted to ensure that all the products of sugars that's on the market, that they are safe for consumers to purchase and to consume. And so for that reason, out of an abundance of caution, we extended the surveillance right across the length and breadth of Jamaica.
Amoy Harriet, CVM News.
Utility and telecommunication operators are moving to improve their services with new tools and revised technological innovations to help improve the pace of recovery after disasters. Speaking at the annual Conference of Caribbean Utilities Regulators in Trelawney on Tuesday, Technology Minister Dr. Andrew Wheatley noted that based on the Hurricane Melissa experience, the OUR is calling for a multi-layered disaster risk financing framework. Natasha Williams has more.
Dr. Andrew Wheatley notes that for the past 3 decades, the Office of the Utilities Regulation, OUR, in Jamaica has built one of the Caribbean's most capable and internationally recognized regulatory bodies. The regulator, established to hold telecommunication groups and public sector companies accountable, secured over $13 million in resolutions for utilities customers in 2025.
I don't want us to look at the statistic as the amount of money that has been, transferred to customers. it is really a statement of regulatory purpose. That when regulation is done well, it is not an abstraction. It changes lives. It protects families.
However, while praising their efforts, he says the OUR and public service companies still has a far way to go to quickly respond to disasters as demonstrated during Hurricane Melissa.
The government's response and the OUR's careful monitoring of building relief measures in the storm's aftermath demonstrated both the value of strong regulatory oversight and the limits of infrastructure systems not designed for the intensity of climate events we now face with regularity. Caribbean utilities must not only restore services after storms, they must be financially and structurally built to withstand them in the first place.
Therefore, Dr. Wheatley says the technological direction of the utility entities will be improved to keep up with the time.
We have recently relaunched the Jamaica Internet Exchange Point, a critical step in building a more resilient, efficient, and locally grounded digital ecosystem. We are advancing our cybersecurity legislative framework because, again, as we move aggressively into this digital phase, we have to ensure that the necessary legislation is there to protect our citizens. We have also constituted a National Artificial Intelligence Task Force to ensure Jamaica engages with the AI revolution with intention, clear governance, and the interests of our citizens firmly at the center.
The conference, which started on Monday, is slated to end on Friday with a tour of the western parishes ravaged by Melissa. Natasha Williams, CVM News.
Time now for social media with Michael Paul.
What's buzzing online today? The young, famous and energetic streamer iShow Speed has been making waves across the Caribbean after launching his regional tour on April 25. His high-octane live streams have already reached more than 7 islands, including Trinidad and Tobago, St. Lucia, Dominica, Grenada, Guadeloupe, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Clips from his stops have been spreading rapidly online, with Jamaicans joining the wider regional buzz and reacting to viral moments. Anticipation is building locally, as many expect his arrival to bring a mix of humor, unpredictability, and the same intense energy seen throughout the tour. Let's get your reactions. At Basically Her says, LOL, so Speed basically said Jamaica for last, cause we are the best. At Young Sen She comments, if I had to guess a good Speed lineup for Jamaica, he needs Uncle and Miss Kitty as guide and host. A Run With Usain over at the stadium, Rebel Orla Tanya to capture the dance inside, a cartel feature, and a Bob Marley Museum tour to complete it off. At Jeff Journalist _ says, so nobody don't know who are on the Jamaica Speed Tour? At Nicoy Clayton says, Jamaica has the best potholes. At Marcel Loves Film comments, Jamaica, whatever you do, just keep him far from LA Lewis. At iTechwe says, the energy, the culture, he will love it. Everyone loves Jamaica. And that's what's trending online today. Continue to share your thoughts with us on X at CVM TV and CVM_television on Instagram and Facebook. I'm Michael Paul.
CVM News at 7 returns right after these.
in great moments. If you have financial needs, Chris and Charles will fix them for you. Power in great moments since 1992. Oh, we have it all. Power in great moments. Relax, you got Chris and Charles. Oh, we have it all. When you think alone, think Chris and Charles.
Say yes to the new onion ring zinger from KFC. The time by KFC is
7:30.
Hey, what I want? Hi, I am Candy Pang.
What a guan?
What a guan?
That a guan pa.
What a guan? What a guan?
What a guan? Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 a.m., 1:30 p.m., and 10 p.m. on CVM TV.
And that's a guan pa. What a guan?
Brought to you by
Some things are perfect from the start. Smirnoff.
The internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winford Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
So much more than entertainment.
Finally said yes to onion rings. Now it's your turn to say yes to the onion ring zinger from KFC. KFC, it's finger.
Thanks so much for staying with us. The death of veteran broadcaster Daniel D.T. Thompson has sent shockwaves throughout the media fraternity. Mr. Thompson died on Thursday after suffering a heart attack earlier this week. Colleagues at the RJR Gleaner Group say he will be deeply missed. Natasha Williams has more.
14 minutes before 1 o'clock.
Daniel Thompson's unmistakably unique and enduring voice. His untimely death on Thursday has left Jamaica's media landscape in mourning, especially the RJR Gleaner Communications Group. The group's senior director, Gary Allen, says the news came as a shocker.
He was a fitness buff, Daniel does his gym and his weight training and his muscle building, and Daniel is not one of those persons who just eat anything. He is very conscious about his diet and so on. So, when you hear that Daniel has a heart attack, it's kind of really, really something that hits you hard, because it's kind of like the last person you would think who would be so susceptible to that within a couple of days he's out. We've been getting responses from people who are all in shock, not sure how to process this. Feels like this kind of thing happens so often within our family. And with Daniel, Daniel is just so well regarded and liked by so many people. Never heard of Daniel having any difficulty with anyone. So he's just well liked, and it's a great shock to everybody, and he will be sorely missed.
The feeling of shock was compounded by the cause of death, as Mr. Thompson was a known fitness buff. Known for his versatile broadcasting skills, which saw him working across every time slot on Radio Jamaica for the past 28 years, Daniel Thompson became a staple of the station's calling program, Hotline, in which his organic and light-hearted banter on the X and Y feature, alongside Hotline's host Emily Shields, captured many hearts. Speaking with CVM News on Thursday, Mrs. Shields said upon learning of his death, she felt numb. But those memories and lessons will live on through her for a lifetime.
That segment was just organic, unscripted, and real. And people just got to know us through it, where we're coming from, and more than anything else, how much we treasure all of those memories, some of them long erased, long forgotten, some of them unknown to people of this current generation. So to find somebody who was as rural as I am, and to be able to interact with that person without a script, without any planning, where I fed off his energy and he off me, and then people all over the world who listen to this program started appreciating it and loving what they hear. It was just something amazing and perhaps irreplaceable.
Daniel Thompson, who was admitted at the University Hospital of the West Indies on Monday morning, died, leaving 4 children. As the media fraternity mourns his loss, CVM Television conveys condolences to Mr. Thompson's family and the entire RJ Gleaner Group. Natasha Williams, CVM News.
Have you ever checked your bank account and realized your money is gone? No warning, no trace, just missing. It's a frustrating reality many Jamaicans say they've faced, often with little answers. This week on Query This, Akeem Arendt digs into what really happens when your hard-earned money disappears and what your rights are under the law.
When you put your money in a bank, there's an expectation that it's safe. But what happens when it's not? According to attorney at law Nico Pagan, banks have a legal responsibility to protect customer funds. However, if unauthorized transactions occur, you might be wondering who bears the burden of proof.
If a customer wants to recover money from the bank to say that it was the bank's carelessness that caused them the loss, then they would have to prove that the loss was as a result of an unauthorized transaction that occurred on their account and that the bank was careless.
In cases where you discover that your funds are missing, the attorney warns the first step you should take is to report it.
Once you report it to your bank, I would say as an attorney, your next step is to send an email to ensure that there is a note of that report, because you don't want to, when you get to court, as they would say here, say don't stand up in court, you have a contemporaneous document to say, I went to the bank, I spoke with X person, so you take the name of the person, and then you write an email to say, I went in and I made this report.
Under guidelines from the Bank of Jamaica, financial institutions have up to 45 days to complete their investigation or inform you if more time is needed. And if the bank believes customer negligence played a role, that could affect who ultimately bears the loss.
If the customer is careless, it can have 2 results. One, if it is entirely the customer's fault, then of course there is zero liability for the bank. If, however, the bank was careless also, then it would be an apportionment of responsibility.
For those of you using online banking and digital transactions, under Jamaican law, protection exists for you.
The Bank of Jamaica issue guidelines setting minimum standards through which banks ought to operate. For example, there might be guidelines in requiring